you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know, as we're talking college football on this channel year round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. Athens, Georgia. Number 7, Tennessee at number 12, Georgia. You see it on the screen. You saw it on Tuesday night. If the college football playoff started today, first team out of the field, it would be Georgia at number 13. They are ranked number 12, but remember, there are the group of 5 champion would get that 12th bid. Anyway, bring it up to say that, of course, Georgia is a 10.5 point favorite. The over-under set at 47.5. And listen, the bottom line is we know what's at stake for both these teams. For Georgia, we just told you exactly what it's all about. Right now, if the playoffs started, they are on the outside looking in, but we also know that they frankly probably have the best win in all of college football with that win at Texas. So they got to keep winning. They got to take care of business against Tennessee this weekend. And of course, the big note here is that the money is coming in on Georgia as the status of Tennessee quarterback Nico Imamaliava is undecided late into the week. Now, I will reiterate, the reports do seem to be positive on Thursday. And transparently, I'm glad we waited until Thursday to record this show, because early in the week, we saw the Chris Felico report. No disrespect to the Bear, but he said that he was hearing that Nico would not be available to play. Well, on Thursday, Chris Lowe has put it out. He did an interview in Knoxville where he said it's actually trending that Nico could play in this game. And that obviously could be the difference between a Tennessee win, Tennessee keeping it close, or maybe a Georgia blowout if he's not available. The one thing I will say, whether Nico plays, whether Nico doesn't play, I don't think the game plan changes significantly for Tennessee, for the simple reason they've kind of been the same team all season long. And it hasn't been super Nico reliant, super Nico heavy. We've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it on the Aaron Torres pod. We think of Tennessee as this, air raid's not the right word, but, throw the ball 40, 50 times per game, put up 40, 50, 60 points. And while they certainly put up 60 and 70 early in the season, since we've gotten to SEC play, they have largely relied on their defense. They have largely relied on their run game to not only keep them in games, but to flat out win them games. Now, to be clear, Nico, when he has been healthy, has certainly had his moments, most notably the Alabama game against Mississippi State last week. His receivers dropped a couple passes. He was probably a little bit better statistically than we thought. But I just bring it up to very simply say that when I look at this game, whether Nico plays, whether Nico doesn't play, I think Josh Heupel wants to rely on his run game, and I think he wants to rely on his defense. Let's talk about that run game for half a second, because I got to ask you a very simple question. Why isn't Dylan Sampson getting more Heisman buzz? Listen, I understand Travis Hunter is the favorite, and he should be. I understand that Cam Ward up until last weekend was probably the co-favorite, and he should be. But Dylan Sampson has been unbelievable this season. 1,129 yards rushing, 20 TDs, and how about this? The last 5 games, all SEC games, Dylan Sampson has had 100-plus yards rushing in each of them. Last week against Mississippi State, when Nico does go down, Dylan Sampson, 149 yards rushing on 30 carries. A week before against Kentucky, 142 yards on 27 carries, 139 yards against Alabama. This kid has been incredible. This kid has been the bell cow of this offense. And as I said, he's been able to, with the help of the defense, control the clock, win games the way that Tennessee needs to keep winning them. Speaking of Tennessee, speaking of that defense, again, I know I've talked about it a lot on this show, and I apologize if I'm being repetitive. I don't think people realize just how good this Tennessee defense has been all year. We get so excited about Heupel, so excited about Nico. Here are the stats on the defense. Number 5 in total defense in all of college football. Number 3 in yards per play allowed. That's an important stat. Number 9 in rush defense. Number 15 in pass defense. So for the 1,000th time, and I'll stop saying it after this, yes, Nico's important. He is so important. I'm not trying to undersell it. But this game will be won or lost on if Georgia can move the ball on this Tennessee defense and if this Tennessee defense plays at the level that it has all year. Speaking of that Georgia offense, Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What else can you say other than PU? That offense stinks. Okay. How do you like that visual if you're watching on YouTube? Because I just held my nose. It's tough to watch. And listen, I don't know if it's a Mike Bobo thing. You talk to Georgia fans, they're going to blame the offensive coordinator. What I do know is two things. They cannot run the football. You know that Georgia, with all those future NFL offensive linemen, with Trevor Etienne, who I know has been banged up, with Nate Frazier, who I know has had fumble issues, you know that Georgia currently ranks 94th nationally, 104th nationally, in rush offense. That ain't going to get the job done against anybody. Bottom line, end of story. And it's certainly not going to get things done when your quarterback has been as lousy as Carson Beck has been. And listen, this isn't a tear down Carson Beck show or segment, but it's also, listen, it's the NIL era. The kid is making seven figures, and he has gotten worse in every single way that a quarterback can in college football. You know, right now, Carson Beck, 65% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Remember last year, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season. Here's the crazy part, though. His first two games, Clemson and Tennessee Tech, had 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. That means that in the last, whatever it is, Georgia's 7-2. So in the last 7 games, Carson Beck has thrown for 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and you just go game by game. He has been bad against the best defenses that Georgia has played all year. No touchdowns, 1 interception last week against Ole Miss. I think it's easy to forget. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions against Texas, even in a win. By the way, against Florida, we talked about it last week. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think Kirby Smart was this close to pulling Carson Beck. And so when I look at this game and I look at this Georgia team, listen, if Georgia wins out, they're going to be in, and they deserve to be in. Win over Texas, win over Tennessee, if it all plays out that way. But we don't have to pretend that right now this team is who they've been in the past and who we expected them to be in the preseason when guys like me picked them to win a national championship. And so with that said, I do have a pick. I do have a best bet for this game. You guys probably know where I'm going, but it feels pretty obvious to me. I like the under of 47.5 in this game, okay? Because at the end of the day, first of all, with Tennessee, even if Nico's healthy, and I know I've said it 37 times, forgive me, you know that in SEC games this year, you know that Tennessee has not hit 48 points a total all season long in any SEC game all year. That sounds crazy, but it's the truth. They beat Oklahoma 25-15. That's 40 points. They beat Arkansas. They lose to Arkansas, 19-14. That's what? 33 points. They beat Florida 23-17 in overtime. That is 40 points. They beat Alabama 24-17. That's 41 points. They beat Kentucky 28-18. That is 46 points, and then 47 combined points against Mississippi State. And so even when Nico is healthy, this defense is shutting people down, and it is leading to low scores in Tennessee games. Well, fast forward, you might not have Nico. If you do, you're going to be doing whatever you can to protect him. And this becomes, again, you know where I'm going with this, a Dylan Sampson defense game. So I'm not going to put it out of the possibility that even if Nico is less than 100%, even if he doesn't play, that Tennessee can win. I think it's unlikely if Nico doesn't play. But also, I just think that you put this defense up against a turnover-prone Georgia team, I think it's close. I think it's competitive. I think it's super low scoring. Again, if I don't know Nico's status, it's hard for me to pick Georgia to win or for Tennessee to win outright. But I could see this game, even if Nico doesn't play, in the 24-14, 24-10 range and going under. And I think that Tennessee defense is going to keep them in the game. Question is, can they get enough offense, especially with the quarterback situation? But give me Georgia, Tennessee, under 47.5. That is, in fact, a best bet.